What's going on, guys? Just wanted to give you the heads up. This video that you guys are about to watch, I actually did this video about 3 or 4 days ago before I did my interview with Floyd Mayweather Sr. when he actually responds to Devin Alexander's accusations of Floyd Mayweather being afraid of black fighters. You guys can go ahead and check that video out. I'll add the link to the description box. But the reason why this video was sitting on the shelf for a couple days because I added on a little bit more content. But anyway, check the video out, and thanks for watching.
Hi, you're watching Dante's Boxing Nation.
There we go. Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So a couple people sent me some links and they wanted me to talk about this matter with Devin Alexander basically accusing Floyd Mayweather of avoiding black fighters. Now I'm going to go ahead and show you guys a piece of the article that was sent to me, and then I will completely break down this entire topic. Let's go ahead and get into this article. For me personally, Floyd looks at a fighter who is going to pose the least threat to him. Every black fighter that Floyd has faced has given him some type of trouble. I think every black fighter is going to make him think in there. I don't think he wants to anymore. I think he wants to know what he's going to get when he gets in there. And he don't want no surprises. End quote. Now, as you can see right here on the picture, Devin Alexander, he listed a couple black fighters that he believes gave Floyd Mayweather all that he could pretty much handle. Now, Alexander will go on to say all of the black fighters that he thought did something to make Floyd say, oh man, I don't want to fight any more black fighters. That's what I see. He is used to those slow Mexicans who are not going to move around and use their skills in the ring. End quote. Now, the first thing I want to say in response to Devin Alexander's quote may actually surprise some of you guys, which is I actually agree with a lot of what Devin Alexander said. I don't agree with everything he said, but I agree with a lot of it, okay? In fact, some of the stuff that he's saying right now, I said it way before Devin Alexander said it in one of my videos. I don't even remember exactly which video it was. I think it was a video where I was talking about Floyd Mayweather versus Tim Bradley. I did a couple videos where I talked about Mayweather against Tim Bradley. Now, in the video, I go into detail, but what I remember off the dome right now is I was basically saying that Floyd Mayweather, he prefers to fight fighters that fight with all that heart and emotion. If it was up to him, he'd rather fight that type of aggressive, come forward, type fighter as opposed to fighting someone who's in there thinking, if it were up to him. But when it comes to not being in a hurry to jump in the ring and fight a guy who's crafty, moving around, intelligent, counterpuncher, speed, great jab, and so on and so forth, a slick American style fighter basically. When it comes to fighting a guy like that, Floyd Mayweather is not the only guy who's not rushing to fight someone like that. Historically, fighters have been avoiding this style, which I'm going to get into that a lot deeper later on in this video. Now, in response to Devin Alexander and certain fans accusing Floyd Mayweather of being afraid of black fighters or avoiding black fighters, I think it's very important to note Floyd Mayweather has fought more black fighters than any of the current fighters today. Now, ironically enough, Floyd Mayweather has fought more black fighters than Devin Alexander. He's fought more black fighters than Manny Pacquiao, Tim Bradley, of course Keith Thurman, because he hasn't got to fight anyone yet. But he's fought more black fighters than any fighter that you could think of, at least right now, in the top 10. And if you guys want a little bit of contrast, Floyd Mayweather's record, he's undefeated against black fighters. When it comes to Devin Alexander, he lost to almost all of the black fighters that he's faced. One of my buddies at the gym, he was telling me that he was talking to Floyd Mayweather a couple weeks ago, and he said that Floyd was talking about Canelo. He was like, I was able to beat Canelo so easy because he lacks foot speed. Floyd Mayweather believes that's one of the main reasons why he was able to dominate a much bigger, much younger, much stronger Canelo Alvarez. Now, when I describe a fighter like that, doesn't that sound like Gennady Golovkin? Sounds just like him, right? A guy who was much bigger than Floyd, much younger than Floyd, and he is slow on his feet, right? So the point that I'm making is, I talked about Floyd Mayweather. Yeah, he would prefer to fight aggressive fighters that don't really use their brain. They're fighting off of heart and emotion. Matter of fact, let me go ahead and ask you guys a question. Let's just say hypothetically, Floyd Mayweather, he's fighting in May, and he had two options of opponents to choose from. He has narrowed it down to either fighting Demetrius Andrade at 154 or Gennady Golovkin at 154. Which fighter do you think Floyd Mayweather would choose to fight? I think the majority of us, if you're smart, you would know he would most likely choose Gennady Golovkin, right? And guess what? No one would have anything bad to say because right now, Golovkin is who these casual fans love. They are in love with Golovkin. He could do no wrong. He could fight 5, 10 bums and they will still love and praise this man. So can you discredit Floyd Mayweather for choosing that type of opponent? Let me ask you guys another question. Let's say Floyd Mayweather, he had an option to either fight Manny Pacquiao or Keith Thurman. I mean, let's just make it real dramatic and say this was his 49th fight and this was going to be his last fight. Who should he choose? Now, you guys already know this is a simple case of you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. Because if he chooses Manny Pacquiao, which will most likely be the biggest fight of all time, then you'll still have people saying, oh, but you ducked the black fighter. If he chooses the black fighter, Keith Thurman, and for whatever reason the Manny Pacquiao fight doesn't come to fruition, then they're going to say, you ducked the non-black fighter, right? So this is just a simple case of trying to throw as much stuff as you can on the wall, hoping that you can get something to stick. Now keep in mind, even though I say Floyd Mayweather prefers to fight that aggressive, emotional type of fighter, that's not to suggest that he won't fight a guy that mirrors his style. Because remember, he fought against Shane Mosley. And when he fought against Shane Mosley, a lot of people don't want to remember this, but Shane Mosley at the time was considered number one, the best welterweight in the entire world, over Floyd Mayweather. So Floyd Mayweather dominates Shane Mosley, and then he goes right back to beating the casual fans' favorite type of fighters. That Golovkin type fighter, that aggressive, emotional type fighter that fans claim doesn't care about defense because he wants to hurt you so bad, and the type of casual talk that they do talk, right? Because the average boxing fan is a casual fan, and they are all bedazzled and fascinated with power, right? How often do you hear a casual fan having a conversation about boxing where power is basically dominating the whole conversation? Everything he's saying is related to power. So and so can't deal with his power. So and so has never been in a ring with someone that strong, etc., etc. And for that reason, I'm picking the guy with the power, right? We hear these conversations all the time, which is why you boxing fans, you casual fans, and you Floyd Mayweather haters, in a certain way, you are the ones that give Floyd Mayweather more of an incentive to continue to fight that big, emotional, no fear type of fighter. That is, of course, until detractors, or in this case, fighters that want to get a fight with Floyd Mayweather, find new ways to condemn Floyd, then it becomes the new insult of the month, per se. Insult towards Floyd Mayweather, that is. So let's go ahead and talk about this actual topic. Floyd Mayweather is avoiding black fighters, according to Devin Alexander, according to a lot of Floyd Mayweather detractors. Let's get into this conversation. Let's really delve deep into it. Now, guys, this conversation is far more broader than just Floyd Mayweather. Because if you really think about it, accusing Floyd Mayweather of avoiding black fighters, it's like accusing your neighbor of committing fornication. I'll explain exactly what I mean right now. Let's go ahead and look at the history of boxing in its entirety. If you guys go all the way back to day one till present day, you know what you will find out? You will find out that black fighters historically are the most avoided fighters in the entire sport by a landslide. Okay? It's not even close. Once again, we can go all the way back to day one till today, and nothing has changed. We could start with Jack Johnson, for example. The most avoided heavyweight of all time is Jack Johnson. Back in the birth of the 1900s, over 100 years ago, Jack Johnson had to chase the heavyweight champion Tommy Burns for years to finally get him in the ring. Once Tommy Burns completely ran out of excuses, he had no choice. Jack Johnson, he took the fight, or maybe I should say Tommy Burns took the fight and got knocked out in the 14th round. And Jack Johnson was the very first black heavyweight champion. Once Jack Johnson became the heavyweight champion, guess what he did? He avoided black fighters throughout his reign as the heavyweight champion. Now you can imagine how pissed off fans would be seeing a black dominant heavyweight champion holding the most prestigious honors in all of sports at the time. In fact, they were so pissed that Jack Johnson won the title and dominated for so long that they didn't allow another black fighter to even fight for the heavyweight title for 22 years. But let's talk about some of the fighters that we consider the greatest fighters of all times. Before I get into Sugar Ray Robinson, let's talk about Marvin Hagler. The reason why I want to start with Marvin Hagler, marvelous Marvin Hagler, I should say, is because he's known as one of the greatest fighters. He's known as one of the toughest fighters. When Roberto Duran was asked who his toughest opponent was, he said Marvin Hagler was. Okay? So clearly, you wouldn't assume that Marvin Hagler avoided black fighters. You wouldn't assume that he avoided any fighters, right? And that's where you would be wrong. Now, before I give you this very relevant list of black fighters that were avoided, it's very important to note that these names I'm about to give you, these are just the names of fighters that made the history books when it comes to being avoided. Okay? What that basically means is there were other fighters that weren't as popular that a lot of these fighters avoided as well, but they did not make the history books. So we're just going off of the big names that actually made the books. Okay, so let's go ahead and get into this with Marvin Hagler. All right, now the first fighter I want to mention is a fighter from the UK, a black fighter from the UK. He was the #1 mandatory, had somewhat of a slick boxing style. You guys can look him up on YouTube after this video, but his name was Harold Graham. Now, like I just said, Harold Graham was the #1 mandatory for Marvin Hagler's title. You know what Marvin Hagler decided to do? He pulled a Riddick Bowe. That's right. Marvin Hagler vacated his WBA title so he did not have to fight Harold Graham. Okay? Now, another thing you guys need to keep in mind, because I already know you guys are already about to start, throwing out a million excuses. Oh, he would have beat this guy. Look, we're not talking about why certain fighters avoided black fighters. We're just talking about fighters that were accused of avoiding them, right? Because we can make excuses for anyone. You can make excuses for Mayweather. You can make excuses for Golovkin not fighting Ward. But at the end of the day, we're talking about which fighters are being avoided. Forget what the excuse is, okay? So Harold Graham is number one. Number two, second on the list, was a good black fighter by the name of Sambu Kalambe. Now, Marvelous Marvin Hagler was actually sitting ringside when Sambu Kalambe actually beat Marvin Hagler's half-brother, Robbie Sims, to win the middleweight title. And Marvin Hagler, he decided to retire instead of avenging his brother's loss. Now, last but not least, certainly not least, we talk about